no human analyst can digest and can use this data generated by the smart city.
AI, IoT, and 5G, predominantly for enterprise, will try to be and will become the digital triangle of the world.
We'll soon have that generative Bharat Jain AI model in Indian languages.
First of all, on behalf of the organizers, I would like to welcome all the eminent panel members for taking out time and coming for this session. So the way we are going to structure this, let me just share the structure, the way we'll follow it. We'll start with the opening remarks from each of the panel members. And then thereafter, we'll pick it up specifically from the questions perspective. There are specific areas where we would want to talk, followed by specific open house from the panel, from the members who have joined us over here. And then thereafter, if there is any specific question or query which the moderator has, I will take that liberty as a moderator. I will put those questions. I hope that is fine with the panel members. Great. So let me begin with this AI IoT, and to set the context. AI IoT, of course, it, as everyone understands, this I is common. AI and IoT mixing together, and it is all about your intelligent transformation. An intelligent transformation where very clearly the information to make the decision is available at the decision maker's discretion at the right time, and that is what AI IoT is all about. Now, all the technology advancements such as edge computing, the advancement in the connectivity where we are talking about the 5G connectivity, and also the cost of production of IoT, which has more and more intelligence built into it, today actually enables the entire industry, not only specific to the private segment, but also toward the government side, of using AI IoT and enabling that decision making. So one of the examples that from where I will start, and in fact just before the start of the session, ma'am and I was discussing about one of the role which AIoT has actually played in the recent time in the Kumbh Mela. In the Kumbh Mela, when the IoT devices on cameras were mounted and they were deployed across the Kumbh area to actually detect the total people count, which is of course very debatable, and people are actually talking about whether 64 crore people actually visited Kumbh or not, and if yes, then how and what ways this was done. So definitely I think AI IoT was actually deployed with help of IIT Kanpur, where all that we are going to discover today, and of course the critics are also out specifically to doubt on many things. We were also plagued with the regular problem that we typically face when we actually want to make sense out of the information which is flowing through AI IoT, and how and what ways insights can be generated which actually become actionable intelligence. So taking that as an example, I will want to move on to our first panel member. So ma'am, you play the role of a policy maker. So from that perspective, I would want to understand your opening remarks, and then thereafter we will go to the question and answer.
So thank you. Department of Science and Technology is at the forefront of driving all the emerging technologies across the country. And when we embark on the journey of a new technology, we really need to take a very holistic approach, how to create the requisite ecosystem in the country. And currently we are driving close to 8 new technology missions for the country to propel in the journey of being Atmanirbhar and Viksit Bharat by 2047. So just to share with you, we have a national quantum mission worth of 6,000 CR, which is underway. We are part, along with METI, National Supercomputing Mission. We have national mission of cyber physical system, interdisciplinary. and where we have created a set of 25 technology innovation hubs in the all domains of emerging technology, whether it's a robotics, whether it's IoT, AI, ML, cobotics to say, and digital twins. And apart from that, we have also have 2 climate change missions which we are driving. And how do we really come with the informed decision making? Being in DST, everything has to be really evidence-based approach. And evidence-based approach enables us to carve out the enabling policies to say. Apart from that, we are also not only empowering the set of S&T institutions, and also creating a critical mass of researchers to undertake research which is required in the entire domains of emerging areas of technology. We are also empowering a huge set of tech-based startups in the country. As you know, we are third largest startup ecosystem, and we have created more than 200 set of technology business incubators to really tap, support, and nurture startups across domain. And currently, out of 1.5 lakhs of startups registered, AI, ML, these are really a new wave of startups which are virtually impacting across sector of domains of technology, be it at the industrial level or at the societal level or at the government level as well. So we have great example of UIDI, which is really transforming the way we work, with the way we function, and which is really has reached out to the bottom of the pyramid. The smartphones, our Aadhaar-based, you can say, all our services are driven by that. So I think with these words, DST is laying the foundation of all the technology development across vertical domains, and the emerging area happens to be the AI, ML, and we are seeking convergence in all the domains of technology. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We will move on to our next panel member, who is from Russia, Mr. Dmitry Ontoev. I hope I'm pronouncing your name in a right manner. He is advisor to the Minister, Department of Information Technology, Moscow City Government. So, over to you.
Good morning, everyone. Namaste. I'm pleased to be here and to speak at this prestigious event and to speak about Moscow's approach to implementing AI and IoT in the real smart city management. First of all, I would like to say that smart city is about data. Smart city generates enormous amounts of data. Traffic data, data on housing, on utilities, data on people in the city, healthcare, education. Everything is about data. And to harness this data, to enhance this data, and to use this data for decision making, we should use AI, because no human analyst can digest and can use this data generated by the smart city. For example, we in Moscow have an intelligent transport system. This system helps us direct traffic in Moscow, in a huge megapolis. And this system unifies data from more than 40,000 different sensors, traffic sensors, traffic cameras, about 60,000 traffic lights, about road signs, and so on, and so on, and so on. A lot of data generated by the city and by the city transport. So this system helped us to harness and to better the traffic system in Moscow. For example, now we have increased the average speed in Moscow by 20% in the last 15 years when we started creating the intelligent transport system. Just imagine, with the increase in the amount of personal vehicles, with the increase of the amount of people in Moscow, we have managed to not only save time, but to increase speed in Moscow, in all the Moscow streets. Moreover, we have decreased lethality in traffic accidents. If 15 years ago we had about 15 casualties each week in traffic accidents, now we have decreased the lethality by 60%. We have decreased the amount of car accidents by 20%. This is just a small glimpse of what data harnessed by AI, data from IoT harnessed by AI can help in real world and in real city. We also use data in healthcare, data in decision-making, in electoral politics, and so on, and so on, and so on. Later on, I'll be glad to share some of the experiences of how AI can can help the city government to use data from IoT. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your opening remarks. 20% increase in the average speed across the city. It is something remarkable. We'll come back to that during the question and answer round. I think we have been joined by Dr. Sarita Ahlawat. She is the co-founder and managing director of BotLab Dynamics. So we missed out the initial introduction with her. She's over there. Now we'll move on to our next panelist, who is Dr. Ajay Singh. He's the global director and head of AI at HCLTech. Over to you for your opening remarks.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. So, I think this topic, and at least both the AI and IoT, as initially Amit mentioned, they go hand in hand. And for me, in HCLTech, when I joined, it was like 10 or 12 years back when we were looking for AI, and it was at a pretty nascent stage, when even machine learning, some basic algorithm, because no information was available, and AI 10 years back versus 2 years back versus now, it's completely different. The way things have changed. Now, because IoT was having its own challenges, certainly the benefits were there, but now the way AI has advanced, as on in last 2 years or 3 years or so, it has become a very integral part of our IoT systems. And I think for any organizations, for us like service industries, wherever we support our customers, and any division, be it healthcare to industries to banking, smart cities, I think everywhere we find applicability. Certainly one area, and maybe a bit off the topic, but recently we have seen how AI is like being taken throughout the globe, right? And India, maybe our PM and our leader says we are doing great, we are part of those events and all, but I still personally feel that we are a bit behind in that race. Whether it's generative AI, US had their own models, LLMs trained, then China came up. I think it's the time for us as well, and for our leaders as well, to think around that, can India be the next front runner rather than just following what the world is doing. But anyways, coming back to the topic, I think certainly the way we used to challenge, we used to have a lot of IoT devices, struggle with how to deal with massive data being generated by these IoT devices. I think hardware enhancement, security enhancement, they are like benefits. They pose risk, but they are also helping us in taking things further. So it's such a vast area, and be it the benefits. I think one of our speakers just described the benefits of having IoT, but I strongly believe IoT and AI, they go always hand in hand, and we see a huge applicability across the domains and verticals. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to our next panel member, Mr. Sudhir. Sudhir, you are there? Sudhir. Sudhir is Chief Business Officer of De-CIX India, and over to you for your opening remarks.
Thank you. So, I've heard a couple of my panelists speak about how we are ahead or behind of time. I think for India, and having the unfair advantage of being a global infrastructure company, celebrating 30 years of formation, and also the forefront in India in terms of helping enterprises and internet service providers in their journey of digital transformation. We believe that we are at the right place at the right time as a country. One, because a lot of folks would probably not know outside this country, and a lot of people would not understand that the kind of expanse that we currently hold as a geography and the kind of potential that we bring to the table is probably unparalleled. And one of the advantages that we have is no legacy infrastructure. So whatever you do is going to be a next-gen cutting edge right from day one. Do it right first time. Just to give you scales in number, specifically by end of coming fiscal, in India itself, you should see about 20 billion devices connected on IoT. A couple of organizations which, time permitting, I will give you examples, who are already using it to the best possible extent, using our Cloud Connect and serving their location which are in hinterlands today. And that's where the network piece comes into play, which is very important. And in De-CIX we mentioned something called as the digital triangle, where AI, IoT, and 5G, predominantly for enterprise, will try to be and will become the digital triangle of the world, which will then, play unique roles of the heart, the brain, and the hand, so to speak. I am exhilarated to see this journey forward, and I think India has a fabulous growth story to report in the next 3 to 5 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to our next panelist, Dr. Sarita Ahlawat. Over to you, ma'am, for your opening remarks.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I am Sarita. I am MD and co-founder of a startup from IIT Delhi. So before I give my take on AI, so I thought I'll just give you a little bit background why we think AI is going to be essential for drones. So we started our journey at IIT Delhi, and we started with 3 drones. And over the years, we learned how to connect drones, and we were the first one in the country to build a swarm of drones. What it means is you're flying multiple drones simultaneously operated by a single user. And then we learned to connect from 3 to we learned to connect 40 and then 1,000. So in 2022, we flew 1,000 drones from Rashtrapati Bhavan for beating retreat. And year later, we flew 3,500 drones. And we became the second country in the world to have that capability. And then just last year, we flew 5,500 drones. And we made a world record. The world record was very short-lived. China flew 11,000 drones, some odd number. And and in that, what we have done is we built the entire software and hardware. And now going forward, everybody knows that drones are going to play an essential role, whether you think about surveillance, agriculture, or logistics, or even defense. It's just imperative that you integrate AI and its tools and its models. And in the later part of the discussion, we can discuss how individually these technologies can contribute in making these systems more smarter and more reliable. With that, I'll say thank you so much, and I'm really excited to be here with the very eminent panelists.
Thank you, ma'am. Now we'll move on to our last panelist, Atul Kumar. He is the Director, Data Security Council of India, for his opening remarks.
Sure, thanks, Amit, and good morning, everyone. Great to be here again. It's a good opportunity to connect with the like-minded people here in this Convergence. So a couple of things here at DSCI, we get the opportunity to engage with a wide spectrum of the stakeholders, ranging from the user enterprises who are actually using the AI and IoTs and all those kind of technologies. Broadly, I'll say the emerging tech. And on the other side, we engage with the innovators and the researchers. What I've seen now, AI and IoT is becoming like AI of everything, I'll say. Because whether it's a tiny IoT device or lying in your phone, or it's a SCADA machine setting up in a power plant, it's all across, right? And this is how it's spanning out. Again, I come from the security background, so I'll have some aspects coming in from the security side that will double click later on. But what's happening is AI is playing a very critical role in all the aspects. Recently, if you remember, Majorana 1 of Microsoft got released. I was going through some of the talks by the researchers who actually worked on that. That was a research of almost 20 years. And what transformation and what the breakthrough they have seen in last 2 years was amazing. And they have given a lot of credit to AI. Now see the dynamics. The AI played a critical role to develop this kind of a chip, which is a quantum chip. I'm assuming many of you would have seen those news and all. Now this chip is going to contribute back to strengthen the AI, I'll say, strength. So this is the kind of a cycle which is going on. Another thing, thanks for the moderator for highlighting the Mahakumbh thing. I come from Prayagraj, so really keen to talk about that. So definitely in terms of assessing the count and all, but the kind of the mass was available over the number of people available there in Mahakumbh. The AI and the IoT, especially using the sensors and the CCTVs, it has played a critical role in the controlling of traffic and managing the law and order over there. So that has played a very critical role. So further we'll definitely double click the security aspect and all. But yeah, it's very interesting to see how it's spanning out the merging of AI and the IoT. Thanks.
Thank you. Now what we'll do is we'll go to each of the panel members with specific questions. So ma'am, we heard about your opening remark where you spoke about the 8 specific missions and then specifically the climate change mission which you are leading. Climate change mission specifically is of interest for all of us because at the end of the day it impacts each one of us. So ma'am, specifically if we talk about how and what ways we can enable not only our policymakers in the city, when we talk about the municipal corporations who are responsible for managing the aspects which impact the climate, but also the people who are operating at the rural level. How and what ways information can be made available and what is happening in terms of the vision of your climate change mission, which will leverage this entire information or insight which will get generated through that entire layer of IoT which is currently being installed under various missions. So we know the National Clean Air Program is there. We know there are interventions that have been done through smart cities. Then there are state-specific programs that are happening. How and what ways convergence can happen on all these things, basis which the actual actionable information is made available to the person standing at the bottom of the pyramid to take the corrective action, because collectively together all of us, if we do our bit, we will be able to do a positive impact on the climate change. Ma'am, over to you.
So thank you. You have hit upon a very pertinent issue because climate change is no longer a narrative or perception. It's a reality. The way we are seeing because of global warming, the frequency, the ferocity and the duration of extreme events have really risen, be it like flooding, droughts or heat waves. And we have reached the Intergovernment Panel on Climate Change, as you know, have really made a cut of 1.5 degree rise of the planet Earth, and we have all breached it last year, and even January, February have been the hottest month. So why it is happening? It is because of the man-made activities, anthropogenic emissions, GHG, greenhouse emissions. So climate is impacting one and all 8.1 billion of people residing on this planet. And how do we really reach down to the bottom of people? Today, before coming for this session, I was addressing one of our newly launched center, which is at Tamil Nadu Agriculture University. And the topic and the theme of discussion today is going to be how do we enable climate-ready villages for India. So when we talk of villages, our GDP is 18%, being from agrarian economy. We have traversed to industrial economy. Now we are talking about the knowledge-driven economy, all driven by AI, ML, IoT. So everything which is going to be smart. we have to make it at the same time safe, secure, and sustainable. And sustainable, it trickles down to the bottom of people. The people, they are engaged largely in the agriculture and the farming community. So when climate change impacts, it really impacts the farming practices, the productivity from our farms. So food security is impacted. At the same time, availability of water. The water security is also extremely important. There's a strong nexus between the climate change and the agriculture, water, social security in terms of the employment, as well as the energy security and health. So it impacts all. So through the help of the new age technologies, be it AI, and as we know that smartphones have penetrated, so the triangle of both IoT, your phones, and 5G is transforming the way. So there are so many apps at farmer level, which for the weather forecasting. How could be you can say, the seed cycle, the seed sowing cycle is impacted. And we have created Center for Excellences, which are using supercomputers to really come out with a much more accurate weather forecasting and models, which is really reaching out down to the, you can say, at villager level. In terms of water, AI, IoT is really, we have actually, DST has piloted many projects at village level, at community level. How do, with the help of sensing water leakages, and we have found out in a household of 5,000 people, if we deploy IoT at strategic places, there was 30% reduction in the wastage of water. So these are the kind of interventions when we are actually trying to see the convergence. How at the end, like technology may be beyond the reach of common people, but we from the DST side, we have to come out with and pilot those technology at the, you can say, at a smaller cross-section of a society. And once it is proven, we need to really replicate at various level. And incidentally, what Sarita talked about, DST has supported Sarita to really scale up her drones from 50 to 100 at various levels. So we need to really spot where are those innovations, how government can support and help them to really validate their innovation and product, and it cuts across all the domains. So in terms of energy also, we are actually using it for building much more energy efficient appliances, smart homes. If you could see how we really could cut down the energy, you can say, consumption, because as a part of sustainable development goals, responsible consumption and production is one of the key important. And one of the low-hanging fruit in this energy is how do we reduce the energy consumption. So we have to really spot through IoTs, smart homes, smart offices, and sensor driven. Now all the, you can say, upcoming built spaces are IoT driven, sensor driven. So that actually reduces the energy footprint of any built space. So that's one. Even for the water as well. So all IoT are really transforming the way we as a individual, as a organization or society can really play a role in conservation and protection of our environment, and that's a big goal we are aspiring for. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your elaborate answer. We'll move on to our next panelist, Mr. Ontoev. I think you spoke about very clearly and ITMS as an intervention is something which is an area of interest for me as well. So I just wanted to understand two things. One, this 20% increase in the vehicular speed over the past some years, which has been achieved in Moscow, is it only a function of ITMS and IoT only, or there were certain physical infrastructure? That's part one of the question. And part two of the question specifically is about the possible disruption that will happen if there's possibly a service disruption that happens because of some cybersecurity issue or some kind of a thing. How and what ways that contingency has been built into the system? That is what we would want to understand, because security disruption is also one of the important aspects, because ITMS needs to work 24/7, 365 days a year. And if there is a security disruption that happens, how and what was this 20% increase which you have achieved, which actually moved towards the negative side? So we would want to understand these two things.
Okay, I mean, thank you for your question. First of all, about the traffic speed increase. This is obviously a result not only of convergence of AI and IoT, but a result of a whole set of measures taken by the Moscow government over the last 15 years. It includes creation of for example, new subway lines and new subway stations. In 15 years, we have created more than 80 new subway stations and more than 15 overland rail stations. We have made 3 new major urban railroad lines and several new subway lines. We have also increased the amount of public transportation, like buses, like trams, and so on, and so on, and so on. But I would like to reiterate that to do this, we have to use data. We have to use data, for example, on movement of people from one district to another district, on the points of attraction, on the points of interest, on where better to situate lines, where to better situate or where to better put subway stations, and so on, and so on, and so on. And this is also means using data on people, for example, movement. As regards your second question, the security and disruption, we all know the trait that S in IoT stands for security. There is no S in IoT, so there is no security in IoT. And I don't see S in AIoT either. So one of the possible applications of AI in IoT is increasing security, because with the proliferation of internet connecting devices, there is also an increase in possibilities of, for example, DDoS attacks on infrastructure. Because when you have, for example, a smart teapot connected to the internet, this teapot can be hacked and used to attack some websites, and so on, and so on, and so on. So one of the possible applications of AI is security. And this is a whole new dimension of thinking, because what is AI and how can we use AI, for example, to better detect threats, to better counteract and to better counterattack, for example. But with the proliferation of AI, the amount of attacks increases, because when AI can write malicious code, when AI can create malicious viruses, trojans, and so on, and other instruments for black hat hackers, it also poses a whole new set of threats. And as regards the disruption and the disruption in traditional industries and traditional domains of management, AI and IoT convergence can help actually not to disrupt, but to manage those disruptions. For example, we in Moscow have created a digital twin of the city. This is a complete 3D model of the city with all the metadata you can have about underground communications, about power grids, about people, traffic, about surveillance cameras, and all the data, more than 6,000 analytical layers of data on the complete 3D model of the city. And at first, this project disrupted the business processes within certain areas. For example, when a government department knows that its data is transparent to all the other departments, and when its data is used by all the other departments to better make decisions. At first it was a disruption, but then we see the efficiency, the decisions taken by the mayor of Moscow, the speed of these decisions have increased by like 30%. And when the mayor of Moscow makes his decisions, he has all the data available to him on the digital twin. So the disruption goes hand in hand with increase in efficiency, and AI and IoT convergence can help this. Hope I answered.
Absolutely. So we'll move to Dr. Ajay Singh, and specifically, I think you in your opening remarks specifically spoke about we as India lagging onto the race on AI, and especially India-specific LLMs, which can work on Indian languages, which can work on Indian data sets. And those data sets could have been used to train our own specific models, which would actually help us do things in much better way. Having said that, I think if we were to move ahead and identify, okay, as a late starter also, let us accept that. In your understanding, specifically from the, I would say the private sector and the corporate sector, what do you think we as a country should do specifically to get quickly onto this bandwagon of developing the core AI aspect, not just merely being the consumer of the LLMs which have been developed by the world and made available to us? Yeah. And what are the necessary, I would say, privacy considerations which actually need to be wary of and need to be considered when we are trying to attempt something that in India?
Sure. See, since our topic is IoT and AI, I'll start with a basic example. If I have to do something like a smart city, let's make our red light smarter. And while reaching Bharat Mandapam, it like for 15 kilometers, it was more than an hour or so for me. If we make our lights very smart, I don't think they can yield anything here because there is no alternative, right? You just have a straight path and there is no alternative to divert. So even smart systems won't help you. So your core infra, your base infra has to be in place. And I think that's where we are lacking when we say, we are always like service providers, will leverage some LLM and will do some great stuff and all. But if, US universities, China universities, if they can do it, certainly we can do it as well. And the core thing is maybe for us being a bit away from the core manufacturing part of it, starting from your semiconductors to chips, and then, motivating those organizations that, okay, let's start thinking around that direction. Let's have our, manufacturing in that side as well. I think so far everybody was kind of ignoring, okay, we'll import it and then, we'll kind of proceed with it. So I think underlying bottom stories, though we may say we are a bit late, but it's again not too late. We can still start, and I think some kind of decent budget is required to this AI side as well. Because anyway, if world is moving pretty fast with AI, you will have to have your system secure enough, and it's not a choice. You are forced to do that, because if somebody is deploying AI at a very high scale, building AI models, then you don't have any choice. One is you take that model or make a system which can just run on top of it, or you build your stuff which can compete with it. Maybe the security part of it, right? So security generation in your IoT devices, what if those threats are being generated by AI itself? Then maybe your pattern recognition, your system might fail if you are using some traditional, methods to, reach there. So I think the way Europe has, allocated a decent amount of budget for AI, Arabian countries have allocated decent amount that, okay, let's not like be in the race, but let's compete and do something great. And I think we should do that as well.
Great. I think with this entire AI mission in India and the way it is progressing, and recently, I think on 7th March itself, the AI Kosh, I think that definitely will catalyze the entire AI innovation. Yeah, go ahead, and please.
See, one more important point which I missed is, I think, skill set. And, when we leverage LLMs or Gen AI components from others, we still find a difficulty in the skill set, that mindset to implement AI. And I'll give a very interesting example. I was talking to a candidate, and this gentleman told me that, I was to implement an AI or IoT project. So what I did is, there was a, fuel container having a bar in it. It was giving some readings. So this guy deployed a camera over it, which is like, monitoring the, meter, and then leveraging a computer vision program. This guy is converting this number to, a number to generate alarms that, something like boiler temperature is, beyond a control or under low. So the underlying problem is you already have a system which is giving you a digital output, and then you are force-fitting an AI component just to have an IoT or AI project. You are deploying a camera, deploying a computer vision algorithm to detect and then generate alarm. That's like a force-fitting. So let's identify where AI is required and actually AI is required. And I think target those areas rather than, I have a target to implement 50, AI projects and I'll do by any means. I'll automate this red light, I'll automate that red light, despite it's required or not. I think that mindset and skill, I would say skill enhancement is required, Amit. Pretty much that's required. And I think in our academias also, we somehow lack that.
Sure, thank you. I will move on to Sudhir quickly. And Sudhir, as we understand, and this is prior to the session also we were talking about. So by 2030, 75% of the enterprise data would be residing on edge. Now, having said that, the decision making would require that data to be converted into insight and be made available to the decision maker with as minimum as latency possible. So how and what was today we are trying to address that particular challenge of latency, because as we move forward this problem is going to increase.
Absolutely.
Yeah, over to you.
Great. So, just to take off from your question, if you go and check empirical data, PwC data, small research, where they spoke to leaders of X number of organizations, and 85% of those leaders today believe in the fact that they would want to rely on AI-driven data, but only 45% of them are confident about the time taken to actually get that data processed. And that's where the whole journey of digital transformation that we help organizations in terms of how do we, one of the main things that we talk about is latency is the new currency. Earlier it used to sound like a dialogue, but now I think every second organization who understands technology and business feels that, De-CIX has been talking about this for a very long time. And that's to give you relevance today. A single hour of downtime for a large enterprise on a failure on the IoT deployed system would typically mean a loss of about $260,000 US as per research done by real-time robotics, you see. So what is it that is required today is the scalability and the dependability on a network that does not need to go to the cloud. Today, typically, every data that is being consumed at that location has to speak to the cloud. And when you do that, you will always be dependent on an open internet, which is fraught with its own dangers, as we've already known. And that is why exactly we've been pushing this concept of the digital triangle, where on the edge, having dumb systems will not make a difference unless and until you have an interconnection platform which comes and sits there and helps you orchestrate your data processing at the speed of thought. So today, with the scale that India is, and I'm so glad to know what Moscow did in its, and if you bring the same scale from Moscow to Uttar Pradesh, and for a lot of international colleagues of mine, they get shocked when I tell them that if you want to make UP a different country, it will be the 5th largest country in the world. So that's the kind of geographic expanse. That's the place where tech is actually talking in terms of the recent Kumbh Mela, or the fact that the government is now looking at rolling out a RFP, which I think is being bidded by a lot of people now, with 750 edge pops that only Uttar Pradesh wants to build on its own. So this is where the true culmination of what a network-driven intervention can do to a lot of infrastructure that is already in play. And I can tell you a couple of organizations that we are serving today, sitting 350 kilometers away from Mumbai, using IoT for their businesses on our direct cloud to ensure business. And the moment you talk to those founders, you feel that, oh, these guys are not into a dairy business, these guys are technology-driven company. And that's the shift that I think is going to be one of the predominant features that we will see when it comes to edge computing or the much hyped edge deployment here in India.
Thank you. Thank you. Now we'll move to Dr. Ahlawat. Dr. Ahlawat, you spoke about drones being used, of course, for a lot of, I would say, showcasing and entertainment purpose. But I would move your, I would say, the question that is of slightly more serious topic, and especially the rate at which today we are losing the entire agricultural land that is available in India. We would be required to grow our crop yield at least by 20 to 25% each year if we actually have to sustain food for all our population. So from that perspective, because we are now seeing usage of drones more and more being used for precision agriculture. So from your perspective, if India has to scale up of using this AI IoT in form of drones and for precision engineering, precision farming, what is that we need to do?
Thank you. And so before we get into this question, and it's a quite relevant question, and also we are not very far from this kind of situation. So I kind of wrote a couple of points that, as I said, it's essential that we have to think about integrating AI and also, combine with IoT devices. And so before we address agriculture or any drone per se, we need to first think about what are the sensors that we are going to use that provides the data for AI models. And so currently, for example, you're using stereo cameras, LiDAR or radar. And in agriculture, we are using radar systems quite well. And when you use these sensors, the cost is a very important factor. And that is why the use has been to some extent very limited. And because of the automation in the car industry, the radar has now, the cost has come down. And because of that now, agri-drones are using quite a bit. But when you're thinking about using lot of drones for any application, whether it's agriculture, surveillance, logistics, you have to also think of the kind of numbers that you'll have to manage. I'll give you one example. If you think about daily, so Indira Gandhi International Airport, you have about 1,400 flights that we manage per day. But if you want drones to be reality, you will have to think of millions of drones doing the same job, being in the air, and you know how hard ATC has worked to keep things in track. So therefore, AI is essential so that you can automate all of this information and in real time manage the traffic and get the task done. So what do you want? And AI is very good at digesting in real time. So before we come to that stage, first we need to manage is the auto navigation. So we really need to teach our drones individually to navigate themselves using these sensors, and then now think about multiple drones doing the same job. And as you said, agriculture will face a lot of challenge because of the, ma'am talked about global warming, land degradation, overuse of pesticides. So of course we need to become smarter and smarter, and these drones really need to talk to each other and automate the path and also deliver in that. And the good news is India is actually making a huge progress when you talk about even the agri drones. So in fact, we have, so think about this number, we have about 400 drone startups in this country. Out of 400, 300 are maybe agri drone startups, and they're addressing the challenges of Indian, and then actually in large part of the country, the pesticide spray has now been moved to drones. So if you look in South and Punjab, a lot of precision farming in that, pesticide spray has taken a dominance more than any other nutrition spray. And so a lot of this is manually, I mean, there's a man in the loop. And if you want to now connect all the farms and, then you'll have to think about running all of these drones simultaneously and have them done. So for that, the challenge is actually of the technology, not of, so you'll have to build smarter, and you asked where India will be, right? And so what we'll need to move is to perception models, we need to integrate the data. So I think if we want to have drones to be integrated in not just in agriculture, we need to think about better models, edge computing, and then also learning how these sensors can operate without interfering with each other. And I'll give you one example. Two of my fellow panelists talked about Mahakumbh. And in Mahakumbh, we flew 2,500 drones. And so the news went out, and there were hundreds of other drones to just capture our show. And typically, we do not have any issue when we do a show in that setting. And because so many people, and at least what we counted was more than 100 these hobby drones with the camera were capturing our show. And there was so much disturbance that while landing, we lost quite a few of drones. So typically, we lose maybe 1 or 2 drones, malfunctioning. But when you're flying 2,500 and then there are 100 other drones that are capturing your show, created an interference. So when you talk about automation and AI, you'll have to think of all of that how are your sensors communicating data, how is your perception model, is how efficient. So going forward, there is a lot of potential, but we need to think about building better models, sensors, and specific applications, and you cannot to complement that more efficient hardware and systems.
Thank you. I think we do not have much of time, so we'll go to the last panelist, Atul. So Atul, again, extending the same point, taking back to you to your hometown, Prayagraj. So in Prayagraj, when we were trying to do this entire AI IoT thing, and specifically we were trying to automate that entire public addressal system through VMDs, I think DSCI and various other security agencies actually did a complete vulnerability testing, and there were various kind of tests that have happened. Because of which what happened, many of these devices were forced to be moved out of the grid. Considering the pros were not very less while cons were very high for us to expose those IoT devices to actually relay messages. So from your perspective as a country, what are the necessary security and the other aspects which need to be considered as design principles itself from the day one to enable IoT-led decision making in the public space?
Sure. So slightly I'll expand it if you allow. Okay, so I'll take one example, and that is directly connected with what Amit has started the discussion to start with, actually. So he talked about two things: the information to make the decision and the pace of that information. The information should come at the right time, right? This is quite relevant in AI and IoT context, right? I'll take an example in one of the country. I'll not quote the name because I don't know the accuracy of how good it was. One of the country, there was some robbery happened in one of the bank, and within few minutes, the police captured the culprit. How? Though they were wearing all the mask and everything, how they did it? They had the AI-enabled cameras, and they analyzed the body language, and basis that they identified who is the culprit, irrespective whether they were wearing the mask or hiding their eyes and everything. They captured it. Now this is a perfect example, though we need to think from the privacy perspective because all the countries will not allow this to happen. This is kind of a surveillance, but yeah, in that context, this is a kind of a great example how the AI and the IoTs could lead to such kind of quick delivery of the scenarios, certain scenarios actually, outcome in certain scenarios. This is how the information flow and the right time and the pace of information flow at the right time that actually worked. This is directly connected with the AI and IoT in terms of the delivery, in terms of innovation if you see. Why? Because typically we say that AI thrives on data and IoT creates a lot of data, right? Now if we mix all of those things, we are going to have huge amount of data which can be leveraged to sort of produce good results. Now coming to your point in terms of security considerations, definitely a lot of IoT device that many times even government keep sharing a lot of advisories. We need to, this brand or this company's IoT device we should not use. And even on the drone case, some of the countries we have barred that procurement and all those things happen because of the supply chain issues. Because many times you feel the OS in that particular device, sometimes the cameras and other IoT device, the OS which is being used, that can have certain vulnerabilities or that may have certain vulnerabilities that can lead to a larger ramification. That a small IoT device placed in one of the critical system, which we feel probably what this device can do, but the loophole in that device can lead to a larger ramification. Some years back, if you remember, there was a large DDoS attack, denial services of attack got planned, leveraging the IoT devices, and majority of the IoT devices were the CCTV cameras. So typically how we see and how we say it, a small incident or a small vulnerability can lead to a larger ramification if we don't curb it. So from that point of view, at a national level, we need to have some testing and some sort of infrastructure in place which can validate if something is coming in from a larger supply chain or value chain, how can we assess and make sure that it's not going to create some sort of interruption or some sort of chaos in the system. Another angle I'll add here is why it is more important to look at all of those things, the security aspect, because the technology way it is expanding, it's actually lowering down the skill set required at the adversary's end. Typically, I take one example, like when we were in school that time, like late 90s, When we saw the mobile phones in television, it took almost 6, 7 years or 8 years to get those mobile phones in our hand. Now that's not the scenario with the technology, the pace of technology adoption and innovation which is happening. We saw the chat GPT, some people were talking about within a week or so, we started using the chat GPT. Right? This is a kind of, typically I say this is the pace of innovation and the pace of adoption. Every other day we are hearing a different news coming in for the Gen AI innovation. New models, new frameworks are coming in. Those kind of things are actually enabling us to increase our productivity, increase our outcomes, but at the same time it's lowering the base, lowering the bar for know-how of an adversary to plan an attack. Keeping that in mind, if another aspect that I'll open up, that's actually outspacing the regulatory and the legal system. Because what happens, we plan a legal system or a law we create keeping certain things in mind. The way the innovation and the pace of innovation which we are seeing, it's creating a very difficult scenario for the laws and the regulators, lawmakers and the regulators, to make sure that laws and regulations are standing against the test of time. Because every other day we are having a new scenarios coming in. So keeping all of those things, right checks and balances at the national level is very important. Not just at the national level, as an organization when you are looking at those things, when you are adopting certain things, you need to have a very comprehensive view what you are adopting. The challenge is not what you are adopting. Challenge is, are you taking care of the required due diligence while you are adopting? So if you are doing it, probably it's a good to go thing. And if you don't use, we are going to lag a lot. Another aspect here is what I have started saying, like I see AI, IoT, AIoT is like AI for everything kind of a scenario. Now AI is becoming kind of for everything. When I say for the user enterprises, for the innovators, they are creating solutions, it is becoming part of all the diplomatic engagements. So I lead that segment as well, where we're engaging with cyber diplomacy. Cyber, AI, IoT, or all the emerging tech is becoming part of all the diplomatic engagements. So this is that important. And why? Because it's one hand, it's becoming like a tool for the larger good. Whether it's precision farming, whether it's healthcare, whether it's smart cities, whether it's education, whether it's inclusion, which is a major discussion agenda in the country. For especially abled people and all, IoT and AI can play a very critical role to enable, say, skills development and all those things for the especially abled people, for illiterate people. All those kind of things can be done using those technology, but at the same time, if we don't take care of the right set of controls, right set of, I'll say, scenarios that can create ramifications, we are going to lose. So the point is we have to adopt, but at the same time, we need to make sure that we are adopting in a very, I'll say, secured way, or I'll say very informed way, so that we are not going to have any kind of ramifications. So I'll stop here, actually, given the time. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, Atul. I think we do not have time for the questions from the audience. We'll be available down once we get off the stage. If there are any specific questions, we'll take it up. And before I hand it over to Shushmita, I think Dr. Anita has just one parting comment. Over to you, ma'am.
Yeah, just wanted to share what you shared about ChatGPT. Virtually has changed the way everyone looks at AI. Now it's a De-CIX or Grok AI. Department of Science and Technology, taking cognizance of this AI, generative AI development, we have launched a new mission, Bharat Gen AI, which is a generative AI, multi-modal, large language model, which will enable actually have this generative AI in Indian languages, which will enhance the efficiency and delivery of various services for enable scientific research, economic research, as well as social. So that's the information I wanted to share. So it is led by IIT Bombay and consortia. So we'll soon have that generative AI, Bharat Gen AI model in Indian languages.
Thank you, ma'am. Over to you, Shushmita.
Thank you so much, moderator of the session. Ladies and gentlemen, can we hear it for the panelists? we can bring in some more energy. It is about the energy that brings in more interaction. Thank you so much. We extend a heartfelt gratitude to all our panelists. I must say, if I'm allowed to do so, that it's been extremely intriguing, at least for me, and very illuminating, from knowing where, as the nation, our country stands, we are moving towards, and we finally have to go towards. Thank you so much for sharing your inputs, and it has been an incredible beginning of Convergence 2025. We thank you from the deepest corner of our heart. Just to make this moment a little more special, we'd like to present mementos, and may I request the moderator, Mr. Singh, to do the honors, presenting a memento to Dr. Anita Gupta. Ma'am, thank you so much for your inputs. It's been very valuable for us, and we would like to quickly capture this of course, in our lenses and in our memories too. We have a huge amount of takeaways from this session, from where we are and where we are headed towards. Presenting a memento to Mr. Dmitry. Thank you so much, sir, for letting us know what's globally happening, especially at your country. And those exchanges will remain with us. Thank you once again. A big thank you to Dr. Ajay Singh. Thank you for putting forward those inputs, which are not just very valuable, but it's also very, very, very intriguing for us. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Sudhir Kunder. Thank you so much for bringing in such valuable thoughts and letting us know the scenario at present in our country. A big thank you to Dr. Sarita Ahlawat. Thank you, ma'am. We especially take away those points from the agricultural industry that you've given and stated as an example. Thank you once again, Dr. Ahlawat. And a big round of applause and thank you to Mr. Atul Kumar. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us this morning, sharing your thoughts. And we capture this moment in our lenses. On behalf of Exhibition India, I take it as a huge pride in presenting a memento to the moderator of the session. Ladies and gentlemen, a huge round of applause for Mr. Amit Singh for wonderfully conducting and concluding the session.